With everything we've seen from Disney and the push for diversity over the last several years, people were rightly worried when Rachel Zegler was announced to be the next Snow White, the next woke live-action remake with a focus on diversity and representation. Disney was virtue signaling about how proud they were to have a Latina portray Snow White, and then all it took was a couple interviews for Rachel Zegler herself to reveal that not only did she despise this character, but everything in this movie was not going to be built off the original. Instead, it was built to tear down what happened in the original. They didn't want it to be anything like it. They wanted it to be a modern, feminist, progressive message, and they wanted to completely and utterly destroy the meaning of the original movie. Now, after a massive wave of backlash, Disney very quickly made Rachel Zegler shut the fuck up and go back out there to try to change that image. Talk about, sometimes you just have to deal with toxic haters, but really, I've always loved Disney, even though there's several clips out there of me shitting on the original movie, shitting all over the character. Now, I've got a different tone of voice when I talk about it. We saw the damage control they had tried to do with this interview with Halle Bailey and Rachel Zegler combined. I don't really think it worked that well, but now we have a new report that indicates Disney might be doing more behind the scenes to try to soften Rachel Zegler's image. And it all starts with this headline: new actress cast as Disney's live-action Snow White. And of course, I'll just put it out there right away. We have seen over the past several months so many fake bullshit stories about this. Because it's so easy to hate Rachel Zegler and because people wanted her fired, you started seeing people report, oh, she's been fired. This has happened. So much of that was just complete and utter bullshit made up by people simply for clicks. Like, honestly, that's the reality. But now when you get a headline like this, more people are going to start to ask the question, well, what's happening with Rachel Zegler? The reality of this report is that a new actress has been cast to play a young Snow White. Amelia Foucher to play young Snow White in the Rachel Zegler-led remake. So this is someone who's, going to be about 10 years old, play a child Snow White before you get up to Rachel Zegler's iteration. Well, that has started even more rumors. Rumor, Disney moving to trim Rachel Zegler's Snow White screen time with new childhood subplot. And it all comes to us originally, I believe, right here from That Park Place and WDW Pro exclusive. Rachel Zegler rumored to have a reduced role in upcoming Disney Snow White live-action remake. And the premise of this entire rumor is that, Disney really wants to soften the image, and they didn't think they could do that with just reshoots with Rachel Zegler, and they wanted to limit her screen time a little bit. So they came up with this new plot, this new, childhood flashback subplot that could maybe, help soften the image of Snow White in people's minds. And here's kind of the meat of this. According to a source we believe to have accurate information, Disney has been looking for a way to soften the image of Snow White as played by Rachel Zegler in the movie. According to this source, the amount of reshoots they need for Zegler is prohibitively intense, and it also doesn't make much sense to try to have her play the role in a more heartwarming traditional manner if she's also playing it quite differently in the original footage. As example, the source says the chance of Rachel Zegler convincingly singing "Someday My Prince Will Come" is about as zero can be. Well, probably won't, because we know there's not even a prince in this movie. So I was told Disney's come up with a plan C or D, or who knows. The source claims Disney's hired a young actress to play Snow White as a child. The idea is to cut time out of Zegler's performance, show Snow White as a cute little kid, soften the character with flashbacks and or a major origin story portion of the beginning of the film. And wouldn't you know it, after receiving the information last week, it turns out there are sites reporting Disney has indeed hired a young new actress to take the role. And that would mean they're actively inserting a new childhood portion of the movie that wasn't originally planned. Here's what I'll say, and I don't know who that source is or whatever. This is what I'll say. Even when you look at this original report from Diz Insider, they mention in it that over a year ago, they talked about it. They talked about the fact that they were already planning on doing flashbacks that would have been a deviation from the original film. And in fact, I can go back to January 7th of 2022, and I can show you that this is when they announced they were going to do a casting search for a young Snow White. So the idea that it is some reaction to Rachel Zegler, that is something new inserted, I just don't think that's believable. I don't think that's reality, because in 2022, they were doing a casting search for like a 10-year-old version of Snow White. And this is really just an announcement. This has been like revealed or uncovered. Not necessarily that the hire was just made. Just the fact that it's kind of, even after they reported it a year ago, they can finally reveal who was cast to play the young Snow White. And again, I can show you right here. A little over a year ago, we reported Disney was going to add elements to the remake with flashback scenes featuring a young Snow White. Now we can confirm Amelia Foucher will play that role. So this is going back to over a year ago. This is like 6 months before Rachel Zegler's comments went completely and totally viral. So I get it and I understand why a lot of people think that they would maybe want to do that, but let's get real. Do we think that in a 2-hour movie with Rachel Zegler on screen for 2 fucking hours, cutting that down to 1 hour and 55 minutes and having 5 minutes of childhood Snow White, is that really going to make a significant difference in people's minds? Probably not. But the reality is people know that this movie's so fucked, that they are so fucked with Rachel Zegler as Snow White, that there are rumors flying all around about things like that, simply because people know that this thing is a disaster in the making. What do you guys make of the rumor? Like I said, I have a hard time believing that this is like something that was just recently come to light when we have, casting calls out there from literally over 2 years ago for a 10-year-old, for a young Snow White to play in flashbacks. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. One thing is confirmed. This thing is going to be a total fucking shit show. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.